The first policy that we're going to review is a combination of IGA, it's curriculum development, and IGD. And when I looked at it, so what MASC did is they took these two, put them together, instead of having separate ones. So they used to be two separate ones. And when I was comparing them, because I always compare, well, not necessarily what MASC has, but what we have as well, I realized that we, as a district, put in the very beginning that parents would be part of that. Let me see.
Yeah, it includes, it's a sentence that was added at the end of the first paragraph that says, in gathering input from parents and community.
Yes, yep, it's in red, yep.
Yeah.
So what wasn't in the new version was the and gathering input from parents and community, which BBRSD had passed back in, I don't even know.
2019.
2019, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, does anybody have any, I mean, I just copied, I put the purple in. Purple is basically just the other part.
I took a look at it, Lori. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just both policies in one document.
Yeah.
That's the only difference from the MASC. I think we should keep that in there. Send it to the committee for a first read.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
I
So
like it too, Lloyd.
so
Thank
let
you
me
for
write
doing
down,
that.
so that one will be a first read.
I liked, and the last paragraph too about the committee wishes is so much clearer.
Yes.
Efficient, effective, and knowing what to do and how that operates, and it's just adds a layer of communication to.
Well, I think it's
Our
helpful because I
conversation.
think we were such a small district before, like everything was small, and so when everything kind of got put together, I think some of the policies and protocols nobody necessarily knows. So it's like I feel like we're all getting back on track this year.
That was my question, just to know what to really
Yeah.
do. But this, I like this, and this is really helpful in guiding us on what to do. So no, that was
Excellent.
great.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. And then policy GBAA, it's the policy against harassment and discrimination. Carol, you had pointed out that we need to change Jeff's name to your name.
That's all that. Yeah.
Which I don't know that we need to send that to the committee for. It's just.
I can imagine we do.
Yeah.
And to be honest, should we just update? Does the name of the superintendent specifically have to be there, or could we just say superintendent's office or the superintendent?
I think it'd be wiser to just put the superintendent's
Yeah, then you have
office
to
or the
change it.
superintendent,
Yeah.
because there may be others
Because
in
that'll help us in
there
the future, right?
that we don't even know, that you'd have to go through all of the policies to look and see.
We can
where
probably
they-
do a search through
Well-
the manual for the name,
Yeah.
right? And then maybe just
Nicole
update
can-
them all.
Because
can you do that?
We'll see what it says on here. If I look at it, it's under complaints, and it gives you the person to contact if you have complaints. So I think the idea is transparency, so you don't have to go and look that person up. So it's under C. It says the
Yeah,
complaints
it
of-
says the superintendent, right?
Yeah, it says the complaint may be made orally in writing and should be directed to, and then they have Janelle Fitzpatrick's name. And then as you go down, it says any staff member or student who is dissatisfied with the results or progress of the investigation by Janelle
Yeah.
may discuss his or her dissatisfaction directly with, and then I put in Carol's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in this particular one, maybe they should be named, I don't know, the specific names, or should it be the office or the position? Because there's only one person.
Oh, that's
right,
true.
in the
If we
office.
take out the name and just leave the office,
Right.
we would still
That's-
get to them,
Or you can
correct?
just say the superintendent of schools
Yeah.
Right.
and just
Let's do
leave it
that.
at that.
And then, so there has to be two, so one of them would just be
Yeah.
the director of
Director
people
of
personnel.
people. Yep.
so hers also. Yeah.
I mean,
That's a good idea. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. We should check on the others too and see if there are any like that. Again,
Same,
we didn't
yeah.
know if we have to bring it forward or
Yeah.
it's just something we change.
I think on that case where it's not changing the policy, it's just the fact of the name. I don't know. We'll put it out there if we want to, but
Okay.
Should we? Should I ask Dorothy, or should we just put it out on
just
vote?
put it up for vote.
Yeah.
How about that?
That way, it just makes it, because it's really it's kind of straightforward.
Yeah.
We decided that we were going to. There's so many policies to go through. We were going to bump the MASC, or it's my suggestion to bump those to next meeting, because I wanted to spend time discussing. We put out the class size and the other things like that.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at it all either.
Yeah, so we can. Yeah, so why don't we look at this and then we'll see where we are for time. But I think this is probably gonna. I think this would be a hearty meeting next time.
Yeah.
So we have requests. So the CBC, the Superintendent's Performance Responsibilities. When we were meeting for superintendent evaluation, Jessica had looked over CBC and pointed out that It had Jeff's name in it. No, I'm sorry, I said three committees.
This refers to the three different committees from before the
Yep.
regional committee. So we need to consolidate that to the one committee.
Where is that, Lori? I looked at that.
Too, yeah.
It's in the beginning of one of the first paragraphs.
I think I'm in the wrong.
Oh, yeah, meeting attendance?
Yeah,
Go
so
down to
section
4.
2, responsible to the school committees of Berlin-Boylston and the Berlin-Boylston Regional School District. Should probably just say responsible to the Berlin-Boylston Regional School District and Regional School Committee, maybe, or just district. The committee, I would say regional committee, because it's the superintendent's performance. That's handled by the committee.
Mm.
And number 4 also, Mike, too.
Yeah.
Another one
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
refers to the 3 school committees, yeah.
2 and 4.
And does that union number need to change, or is that still the same?
I think that needs
Question.
to change. I
Yeah.
don't think we're a Union 60 anymore.
Yeah, so whatever that is now.
I think it's just the Berlin-Boylston Regional School District. I think we're all one
Or
umbrella.
is it the B? Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah,
don't
so
think we have, I think that
whichever
was
one
all.
it is, yeah.
So, union number?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we make that change, and then
Who would I find that? Would I ask Bill for that?
I'd go back into the original agreement and
Regional
just
agreement.
review that.
Yeah.
so we can make those
Thank you.
changes and
Yeah.
then put that for our first read.
Okay. And then we're gonna look at IKB.
I'm looking at my phone.
I always feel that way when I'm looking at my phone
Yeah.
too.
IKB.
People know. Yeah.
Forget that. That's just, that came to us and we didn't, I want to open it. It's for you. It was
Oh.
like a week ago. I don't know
Okay.
what it is.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just saw that.
We'll take care of that. Yes, the homework policy. All right. Is that what you're looking
Yeah.
at next? So this is a parent wrote in, and I think this is on behalf of several parents. Some, I think it's confusion over a letter from teachers about elementary school homework.
Yep.
And Carol, I think, Lori, I don't know if you agree, but I know John mentioned something about homework at our last meeting when we were talking about scores.
Yep.
It seems to be, I don't know, not a debate, but there doesn't seem to be agreement one way or another. So maybe we can just get some feedback from them, like what are the homework policies for elementary school, I think is the focus, and whether or not they're doing the same thing between the 2 elementary schools,
Mm.
or even among the different classrooms within the individual buildings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comfortable saying we should require or should not require homework for elementary kids. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But whether we do or not, it should be consistent. You know, BMS grade 1 or grade 2 does it, and BES grade 2 does not do it.
Yeah.
That's not one school district.
Yeah. I would have a problem with that also. So we can do a couple things. I think there's 2 layers to this. One is just finding out that information, what they're doing in each of the schools by grade level. But I also mentioned we can take this to another level. I just want to give you an idea. I pulled Shrewsbury's. I want to show you what they have, for example. I mean, this involves a committee of individuals sitting down to look at truly what the purpose of homework is, and coming to consensus around that. From there, they break it down by recommendations by grade for the amount of minutes. So we can also go that way too, but that involves a larger discussion. So let me,
Right.
I'm just gonna, I put these in your folder, but I just brought these along for you to look at. Ours is pretty, I don't know what word I want to say. It's very open. Let me hear this.
Thank you.
And it's brief.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of interpretation to go into that. We can keep it this way as long as, to your point, we are ensuring that the students are receiving what they need to for practice, right? Practice every day in preparation. They include their reading time in there in the younger grades. And you're right, Mike, it looks very different in the elementary level
Yeah.
than the middle high school
Yeah, once
and
you
the
get to
purpose
Tohoto,
of it.
everybody's combined. It's one subject, one class, one period,
Right,
whatever.
right. And it speaks to that in this document. That's why I wanted to share that with you as well.
Okay.
But it was really good to look at this too and say, has the time come for us to revisit this again? I didn't see, it was interesting, on our policy, we don't even have a date for when this was
Well, when it was
adopted
yeah.
or accepted. So I'm wondering how old this is.
I'm sure it predates the regional district, the new regional.
I would imagine, in my time, in 15 years, I don't remember this addressed. So it gives you an idea of.
Can we get some maybe feedback from the elementary schools?
Yep.
And then, see what they have to say and go from there.
Yep, I'm happy to do that, and but in the meantime, take a look at that.
Yeah.
It's in the drive to,
When I was teaching in Westford, this is exactly what we had.
Yeah.
I taught grades 3, 4, and 5 over a period of several years, and I specifically remember grade 4 was at the time, and I'm talking like 20 years ago, it was 35 minutes. And it was 35 minutes a day, so it was very similar to what they have here. I think this is a great document to go off of, and then to see
Right.
how our district feels about it and what the administrators feel as well, because they're the ones that are in the trenches, they would know.
Yeah.
right, and the teachers, it would be good to have a study of this, I think a group study of this, and get a feel of
Yeah.
what we could be doing.
I defer to Lori's expertise, Carol, yours, and the feedback you get on whether, the time limit or whatever.
Yeah.
The only thing I would have to comment is that whatever it is would be consistent.
Yeah.
I agree,
Yep,
yeah,
I
that's a
agree.
good idea.
Okay.
I also like their addition of no homework dates, because those are always exciting.
Yeah,
days.
I thought that
Mhm.
was great too.
It was a nice touch,
Yeah.
yep.
But I also like, Lori, that if you see that it lays out the responsibilities of students,
Yeah.
parents, educators, and so that
Oh, I
is a
didn't
really
even see
important.
that.
Yeah, this is pretty extensive. I
We could
still
al-
like it.
We can make this, if we can get electronic forms, we can make this a sign off at the beginning of the year. Like
Oh, that would be a good idea.
Community contract
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, that
I
would
like
be
that.
great.
I actually like how user-friendly it is, too.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
regular language. Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly.
So anyway, so let's do that. I'll do some exploration with the principals and also with the teachers. They can reach out and just get a feeling of what the teachers are doing in the classroom, and also that it's not just, it's meaningful work. And I think that
Right.
that's what I liked about this one too. And ours does express that, but this is just more detailed, I think more specific. And
Yeah.
so we'll take a look at it. Okay,
Be
I'll
great.
follow up
Thank
on
you.
this one.
Excellent. So that was
Yeah, so we're on the
homework,
field
so
trip.
JJHE, yep. So this is the educational field trip application. Can you speak please to- oh, I
Yeah,
see.
we also have that. I made some copies of that. So let me get that.
No,
Nope, this.
each have.
Yeah,
They have-
I'm
okay.
looking at it
Alright.
online right now.
So this is the current one, I'm assuming? That one's the current one. And are we thinking of changing it to, yeah, we'll get to this one, okay.
What are the major differences between current and the proposed?
I think language to include the walking trips would be part of it. In the past, we haven't necessarily done that, so we want to make sure that we have nurses as needed
Mhm.
in that. What else did we change?
So this covers nurses
Nurses,
going on the field trips.
yeah, as needed.
So
And this is
as needed would be like there's a student with a I don't know.
Well, say an EpiPen and there's no one that's been trained.
Okay.
that's where
yeah.
this all ties in, right, to the
Alright.
medical distribution of.
If the nurses are away on the field trip, what's the coverage at the school?
That's where we would have the substitute nurses or floating nurse fill in for them.
Yeah.
A lot of times we have been sending the float nurse because she's very familiar with all the students in all the schools, so that the regular nurses can stay in their buildings. But they take turns, and so that's a good thing. But I think that's the biggest piece. We just changed language. We also put in there, it was going to be a 1 month from 2 months prior to the trip, but it used to be a shorter period of time, but we wanted a 1 month notice so that the nurses could plan to go. So we tightened that up. There have been occasions through the years where applications have come in later for field trips, like so close to the field trip that it makes everybody start scrambling to make sure that we have nurse coverage. And you'll hear again from Lisa, the needs of the students in each of the schools is greater and more complicated. And there's also issues around the delegation of the medication. What can somebody who's trained give versus some medication that we cannot give out as lay people, and it has to be a nurse going. So that's all part of this, so we changed that.
That brings up an interesting question too. I feel like the float nurse has been very advantageous to have just for coverage when it comes to whether someone's out sick or whether it's a field
huge
trip.
She has, and we're so grateful that she
She's
stayed
been
on. It's the
consistent,
same
right?
person,
Yes.
right? And that's why we're advocating in the budget to increase that to a full-time position. I know it was complicated in the past about doing that and whether that was beneficial, but we're seeing the need more and more. They're always busy. There's no downtime. It's not like we used to imagine.
Right.
Nurses sitting there, during the day. It's so complicated, and the paperwork that they have to do as well around these, making sure that they documenting everything that they're doing. So no, we worked very hard on this. We brought it forward to the BBEA. They looked at it just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So no, I would recommend.
And they approved?
They approved it. We worked together on, just some questions around it, but overall, we were really.
Put up for a first read.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's that.
It's really nicely laid out as well.
Yeah. Thanks to Janelle and Nicole.
Thank
Typing
you.
abilities.
Oh my goodness. Mr. Reed, okay. And this one, the policy for class size, the student-adult classroom ratio. Were you able to speak with the administrators?
Yeah.
About?
So I have all of that too.
Great, thank you. And my printer wasn't working today, so I was arguing with the internet company, which everything's connected by internet now. So I appreciate the hard copy.
So again, I know that's how I. So
Just
again,
like to write all over
I have
them,
this
yeah.
one and this one. This again from Shrewsbury, and then I have. We have one from Wachusett, but I also have for you. Let me give you this one. These are the numbers, the enrollment numbers the past couple of years for us to take a look at, because I think that this speaks to whether or not we're going to
You need that, yeah.
kind of quantify what we need. Nicole, did we do this one too? You had this one too, the policy
Yeah,
relating
it's
to
in the
education
drive.
class size. Oh, it's in the drive. Okay, yep, there's one there, policies relating to education from Wachusett.
Okay.
So, in the documents from other districts, again, Shrewsbury did this pretty extensively. There's a lot of language here. But in both cases, whether it was Wachusett or Shrewsbury, they made recommendations on class size rather than saying it shall be this. The
not a hard
set
line.
number. So when I talked to our administrators about it, and I'll go deeper on this in a minute. So we have varying class sizes through the years from Tohoto, especially the high school. It's hard to say, we could say 25 students in a classroom at Tohoto, but you can't do that for labs because it has to be 24 or under because there's OSHA regulations around that. So we'd have to stipulate that. In the elementary level, so we're looking also at the issue of space, the issues of furniture and resources and so on, and books, right, depending on what the number is. In the elementary level, there's a building size that plays a factor. Also at Tohoto, right, they were concerned about additional students. How many more do we go? And then they also felt that having a recommendation within the policy or a recommendation other than a policy was more beneficial. So then we dug deeper into this. And I was looking at Wachusett, Mendon, Upton, Northborough, Southborough, and Shrewsbury. Some of them didn't have a class size. Mendon, Upton, and Northborough, Southborough didn't say specific recommendations of size. The challenge for us is we started going down the road saying, okay, in the early grades we'd have no more than 20 in each classroom, which is kind of the ballpark of where we've been going. But in the upper grades we can increase to 23 if we can go that far. that would be okay in the elementary schools. It's when you bring them together into Tohoto. Tohoto's capacity is 560 students. If we say we're going to do that number, and we get that number, then we have huge sizes in 6th, 7th, 8th, and so on. So then we're over capacity perhaps in the school if we have all of our grades stacked with that many students in it. I think you have to think about school choice too. How many do we let in? Do we go up to that maximum number if we set that
that was
number?
part of what originally brought this up.
Right, it absolutely is all of that. So here's another thing I'll throw out to you with all of this. We haven't talked about this before, and then that's how this conversation got dug deeper and deeper. I was talking to folks who have outside our district, who are part of two separate towns and making one district. How did they handle this when one town had more students than another? We see that in Berlin and Boylston, right, with our numbers in kindergarten. Boylston has more students than Berlin. In typical regionalized schools, for example, in one town, or actually two towns that we talked to, they do cross-town options. So one possibility is we could put it out to parents and say, in some fashion, and I want to know more about how they do that, how do they determine, you have an opportunity to go over into school A if they have less students in there. Keeping in mind, do we make them stay there for the rest of the years?
Right.
Parents have to decide if they want their children to be raised in a different community or different town other than the town they're in. But they do this in other towns. And that there wouldn't be a financial exchange between the towns. In other words, because they go to Berlin, we wouldn't be having Boylston pay Berlin for like a school choice kind of numbers that we typically do when we take from other towns.
Would it be like a school choice where the parents would be responsible for the transportation?
And transportation as well, Lori.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
That
do
makes
that in
sense.
Wachusett.
I mean, when
yeah.
you think about how many parents drive their students in.
Yeah, well, they do that in Wachusett as
Yeah.
well.
I mean, there's definitely concerns there. The regional agreement says that each town has to have their own elementary school. So
Right.
in that scenario, each town would still have their own elementary school.
Right.
So does it cover that? Does it not cover that? Does it have to get changed? Does it have to go to DESI? I don't know.
I don't know.
Um,
Again, that's something we'd have to look into further.
The other thing, talking about actual class sizes, say 18, 20, 22, whatever it is, I think it was the original reason for bringing this up, which was a year ago or 2 years ago, wasn't necessarily physical number of kids in a room. It was the kids to adult ratio. So we were talking like over a certain number, we would require like an aide or something, paraprofessional, something.
Yeah.
Depending on the level.
Right.
So I think that was really what drove this
okay.
versus like, so if we have 20 kids one year and then the next year that goes to 24 kids,
Yes.
it's not that you can't have a classroom with 24 kids, but do we want to budget for additional help in the classroom?
Okay.
I think that was the main driver behind this.
It was, and I think it was Adam that brought it up, just to give you perspective of where, like, he was on the committee at that time, and
Okay.
I was the chair. He had asked us to look into this, and it was for that exact reason.
Good.
And so then at Tohoto, it wasn't so much like keep 25 kids in a room. It
Yeah.
was a graduating class is going to have X number of kids. Do we want to open up Y number of school choice slots to fill that out, or do
Yeah.
we not need to fill that out? Or
Yeah.
it was more like instead of making it sort of, well, this year I feel like doing this, and next year we maybe feel like doing that. More of a quantitative.
Yeah.
If you're below X number, then open up this number of slots. So I think, at least that's the way I'm thinking of it. Like, because like you said, Carol, if we say 25 kids this year, but then we have 26 kids enrolled,
Yeah.
we're breaking our policy. We can't do that, right?
Right.
That's ridiculous to split.
Well, and it
one
says
kid,
the
right?
superintendent can add up to 2 extra, but that's not the big thing. It's really about.
So then what becomes the point of this? Like, what's,
Right.
if we can just change it every year,
Right.
what's the point of having a policy? It is what
Right.
it is.
And you get 2 extra kids, and then you say, okay, should we break this into, so now we have 27 kids. Well, that seems large, right? So then do we break that into 2 separate classes, and then we need a teacher at the last
Yeah.
Right.
second, and then that throws us off. So it's very tricky to do this if it's a hard and fast number.
Yeah.
That's why I
Yeah.
think that these districts did recommended.
Recommendation,
Span.
and I think what we wanted to do is, over a certain number, let's provide some more help over another. not necessarily
Yeah.
a full teacher for another classroom, but some sort of full-time, or part-time, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of aide or paraprofessional.
Who would be a general ed para, I think what you're talking about. Because some classes have one or more paraprofessionals in, but they may be dedicated to one
Which
student
one's
Yeah, like
or a
one-on-one.
small
Yeah.
group.